Hello, this is Bob Gray Sr. Welcome to Ministry Moments. Lord willing, every Friday, 3 o'clock Central Time. If you'll go to Ministry Moments podcast, you can subscribe there. You can go to Ministry Moments YouTube, Bob Gray Sr., and subscribe there. You go to solvechurchproblems.com and subscribe there. If you can't be with us at 3 o'clock Central Time each Friday, then you can at least subscribe, and that way you can look at it at your own leisure. And then hopefully this will be a blessing and a help to you. Now this, I hope you understand what I'm doing today. I'm going to do, the title of this is Church Finances 101. I don't want to treat you like you don't know anything, but sometimes I think it's good to go back to the basics. And we're having new people join and subscribe every week. So I want to talk to you about Church Finances 101. I'm in my 50th year of ministry. I have an accounting background. I worked as an accountant for General Motors for 7 years. And the truth, I love working with figures. I really do. I really do. And so I'm not an expert by any means, but I do know some things that work and some things that don't work too after all these years. So let's talk about Church Finances 101, freshman course here at the beginning and the basics. Are you ready? Number one, vote on the church budget annually. Vote on the church budget annually. Pass it out. We voted ours February, and we had stewardship month in January. And so at the end of the month, we would vote on the budget, and we would hand it out a month in advance so that everybody had a chance to look at it. Any questions, they could come and ask me or the staff, or they could go to the financial department or go to the deacons and ask them. Really, the budget originates from the reality of the previous year. So whatever those actual figures are, you don't want to build a budget based on dreams and fantasy. Well, we're going to grow by 300 drive-in next year. You don't know that, but you do know what you brought in last year. And so let that be the budget. So each year, and if it grows this year, then guess what, boys and girls, we can make that the figure for the following year. So vote on church budget annually. Now, what this does, it gives you, Pastor, the authority to do what you're doing with the spending. In our church budget, we had 100 series, 200 series, 300 series. And below that, we had 101, 102, 103, 104. You can go to my pastor's church manual and you'll see it laid out there. But so we had a church budget voted on each year. Number two, put all ministry budgets under the church budget. Put all ministry budgets under the church budget. For example, if you have a Christian school, if you have a college, Christian college, whatever other ministries you have, we had a bus kids school. Well, it had a budget. We would vote on all of it at the same time. So we gave out the church budget, and then behind that was stapled the different ministries. We had a missions department, IBWM. Richard Hitz, who's in heaven now, was in charge of that. And so those were separate budgets that we're proposing to the people, brought to the people based on the actual numbers that came in from the year before. So there's no guessing at it, at all. And by the way, if it goes down, the pandemic hit you and hit it hard, and offerings and everything went down, well, then guess what? The next year's budget ought to be down. You don't go on fantasy. Don't do that. You have no idea what tomorrow's going to bring. So I said, number one, vote on church budget annually. Number two, put all ministry budgets underneath that main church budget, staple it all together, pass it out. And ours were like $62,000 a week. I think $62,300 a week. That was everything. We'd staple it together, hand it out to the people. The people would look at it, had a month to do what they wanted to do with it. And then they voted on it. That was my then authorization. Now, by the way, my name was on any checking accounts or anything, nothing. I don't want my wife's name on it. I don't want my name on it. I've heard too many about fussing and feuding over it and accusing the preacher of this and that and the other. So my name is just on nothing. When I first came here, they said, you're going to have to sign the checking account and this and that. I said, I ain't signing nothing. And so we put the financial person name on it, put the treasurer's name on it. So I want my name on it. I want to be close to it. So vote on the church budget annually. Put all ministry budgets underneath that. Next, open two accounts. You want to open a surplus account and an operating account. Okay, so go to your bank, open up a surplus account, and then open up an operating account. Here's how this works. All the offerings go in the surplus account. All of them do. Now, let's say that you're, just make something up here. Let's say that your offerings are $2,000 a week. And let's say that your budget is $1,900. Well, if you put $2,000 in, then you write a check for $1,900 because that's your weekly operating budget and put it in there. Now, guess what? If it's $2,000 to $1,900, you got $100 extra surplus. Now, if you'll do this right, you'll find your surplus will go up, offers go up and down. Where are these people tithing? But anyway, up and down, up and down. But it's those highs that give you that surplus amount that make up for the lows so that you can just, regulars can be, just bills and not have a problem. When I hired my first Spanish pastor, for 6 months, I made sure that his salary was in there. So when he came on board, I was able to move him, get him started, and I wouldn't have to call him in a week later. Oh boy, the money's not there and can't pay it. All right, church finances 101. Welcome to kindergarten. Number one, vote on church budget annually. That's your authorization to spend money. Put all ministry budgets a part of that budget. The church budget be on top, and then the school budgets and whatever you want, the college, whatever on there. Now, next, open two accounts, surplus account, operating account. All the monies go in the surplus account. All right. Number four, deposit all offerings into that surplus account. Number five, write a check from the surplus account for the weekly operating expense. So that weekly budget, whatever that weekly budget is, you write a check. You don't write the entire surplus amount. That's why it's called surplus, boys and girls. And so you write that check. Our supposition was $2,000 came in, $1,900 budget. You don't write a check for $2,000. You write a check for $1,900. Then the next week, if the offers are $2,300, you still write it for $1,900. So now you've gained $500 in the surplus account, which in case you have some rough patches there. Of course, being independent Baptists, we don't have rough patches, do we? Okay, so deposit offerings in the surplus account, write a check from the surplus to whatever that weekly, 52-week, whatever that weekly operating account is. Don't put the surplus in there. You put the amount for the operating expense. Number six, post into each account the week's money allotted. So you allot, you have $1,900. That, remember, we had $2,000 come in. We wrote a check for $1,900 because that was our weekly budget. Then we deposit that $1,900 into each 100 series, 200 series, 300 series, and you have an account system. And if 101 calls for $50, then we put $50 in there. And that's what you have. Now I'm heading somewhere, so don't leave me. So each account then has the amount. Now you say, well, what if we're short? Well, you better have, I always had a plan A, plan B, plan C. I didn't want to visit it. Our financial office did. If it was down, they knew to go to plan B. If A didn't work and B didn't work, they knew to go to plan C. And then plan D was come see the preacher. So we have those plans. We're pre-planned as to what not to put in so that we can make sure that we pay the utilities, the mortgage payment, and salaries. All right, so I said number one, we're talking about church finances 101. Welcome to kindergarten, boys and girls. I hope you don't think I'm talking down to you. I'm not. Vote on the church budget annually. Number two, put all ministry budgets a part of the annual vote underneath it. All right. Number three, open two accounts, surplus and operating. Number four, deposit all offerings into the surplus account. You got that? All right. Next, write a check from the surplus to the operating for whatever that 52-week figure is there, and then disperse it down to the 100 series and 200 series and 300 so that everybody got their money for that week. If you didn't hit it, then have a plan B and a plan C. Whoever your financial person is down, will just exactly go to plan B, go to plan C. Now, if it gets lower than that, you better go see the preacher. And I'll tell you a funny story. one year, I don't know what happened. But boy, we had a great year. That's what I mean. I don't know what happened. We had a great year financially. And so we voted the budget. Oh, we were so excited. But when February was over, all of a sudden we were $10,000 underwater. And I thought, what in the world? I knew it'd been coming in the whole year before. I know we voted it based on that, but now all of a sudden we're $10,000 short. So I went to people on Wednesday night and I said, lock the doors. They accused us of it anyway. Lock the doors. I've got to have $10,000. I am not going to pastor a crooked church. I'm not going to knock on a door. We owe them some money. Not the guy dies and goes to hell because we don't pay our bills. I said, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. And so that night I said, no, I want no post-dated checks. I don't want no notes. I will, but I don't want nothing. We got to have it tonight. We raised $20,000 that night. $20,000 cash. That I told them, so you got a hound dog, sell it. You bought a boat with that money, sell it. Whatever you did, you got a new car, sell it. But we are going to be an honest people. And $20,000 and never drop below after that. So I'm not recommending you do that, but I'm just saying it did work for us. I don't want to go into next month with a heavy deficit. No, I've got to stop and figure out something went wrong here. I've got to figure out what went wrong. All right, Church Finances 101. Welcome to freshman class. Number one, vote on the church budget annually. Put all ministry budgets a part of that annual vote. Open two accounts, surplus, operating. Put all the monies in the surplus account. Number five, write a check from surplus to the operating account. I used the illustration. $2,000 came in, $1,900 is our weekly operating budget. Then we drop that $1,900 down into every one of the accounts. Oh, we don't have enough money. Okay, have a plan B and a plan C. You and the financial people sit down and come up with a plan B and plan C. If it drops to $1,700, guess what? This is what we're going to plan B. If it drops down to $1,500, here's plan C. If it gets lower, that's you going to come see me. We're going to figure out what's going on. Number six, post into each account that week's money. But don't forget, 2,000. We had 1,900 budget. We put that 2,000. We don't write the entire 2,000, 1,900. Then we drop it into every 100 series, 200 series, 300 series, and so on. Then we put in each 101, 102, 103, the amount. Number seven, stop church charge accounts. First thing I did when I came here, we had charge accounts all over town, and I stopped it. No more church charge accounts. Then I started a purchase order system. We had a log with the purchase orders, and somebody would come and say, maybe need bus tires. I've got to have $250 for bus tires. And so they'll come to the financial office. If we had that money in that account, we would give them a purchase order. Now, the vendors were told not to, they couldn't do business unless there's a purchase order. So when they received a purchase order, then we had already penciled deduct with that log. So we knew exactly how much money was in there. By the time the end of the month, we were not over our heads. We knew exactly. And by the way, if $250 was in that account and they needed $300, they only got $250. Stretch it any way you can, but that's all you're getting. You're not getting $300. So that solved that problem. All right, 9. I've already said this, but tell your vendors, guess what? No more charge accounts. Write them all letters. Tell them you're under a purchase order system. It has to be signed by whoever the financial person in charge. If you want to have dual signatures, you can. I prefer that on checks, not the purchase order. And that way, all the departments, man, if you can imagine $60,000 a week having to take care of that, it could get out of hand in a hurry. I had a friend of mine, not to tell where from, but they owed $10,000. The football program kept running. They were state champions, but they were broke. But anyway, Church Finances 101. This is Ministry Moments. You can go to Ministry Moments Podcast. You can go to Ministry Moments YouTube, Bob Gray Sr., or you can go to solvechurchproblems.com and subscribe. But every Friday, 3:00 Central Time, I'll meet with you. And so you make plans to be here. And if you can't make it, then we've got it. You can listen to it again and again and again. God bless you. Thank you for being faithful to God's work. Again, I hope you didn't think I was talking down to you, but we've got young pastors joining and new pastors joining, and some didn't have the privilege of being trained in a Bible college that helped them with things like this. But hope we helped you. Hey, soul winning tomorrow. check on your guests, converts, win people to Christ, and get them lined up for Sunday morning. God bless you. Have a great weekend.